Hi everyone. I want to introduce you to BQQuote, which is part of the new BQSuite. To get to BQQuote, you can click the BQQuote button from your main dashboard, or from the shortcut menu, there's an option for BQQuote. When you click it, you can easily create a new quote session. You can choose your range of verses. It will default to the latest verse that your quizzer knows. You can change the number of verses you want to drill. So if you want to do a 20 verse spot check, you can change this to 20 and so forth. This timer on the side is how long you want to give your quizzer to begin quoting the verse. I'm going to set this one for 10 seconds. If you don't care how long, you can set that to 30 seconds and it will ignore this feature. You can choose to quote in order or random. Hopefully you choose random, and then create the drill. And you'll notice that it created a drill. I have a quizzer view here. I'm going to go to BQQuote in my quizzer view. Now, to start the quote session, the coach should click the quote icon and the quizzer should select the quizzer view icon. So let me open the quizzer view. Now I'll open the coach view, and I'll pause it just so we can take a look at our interfaces here. Notice that the quizzer view tells the quizzer which verse to quote. It also tells them what the next verse that they will be quoting is. They can change the size of the verse on their screen. Now the person quoting the quizzer will see the full verse, the verse reference, what the next verse will be, and the unique beginning will be highlighted. They can also add optional notes, highlight words, highlight phrases, and so forth. The person quoting the quizzer can also indicate whether the quizzer missed the verse beginning, misquoted the verse. There's a back button to go to the previous verse. Exit will take you back to the BQQuote screen. Resume will unpause. And the started button is what should be clicked when the quizzer starts quoting. So I'm going to go ahead and unpause. Now we set the timer for this particular quote session to give the quizzer 10 seconds to begin quoting. So if you notice, when this gets to 10 seconds will have expired. And if the quizzer has not started quoting yet, it will automatically display the unique beginning to the quizzer and will automatically mark that quizzer missed the verse beginning. When the quizzer finishes quoting the verse, just click the finish button. Notice it did not automatically advance to the next verse. This is to give the person quoting the quizzer time to mark. They can highlight parts of the verse. They can add notes. So if you want to add the date the quizzer first quoted the verse, or if you want to say, if you want to mark what they specifically missed, like if they say instead of among the people, if they say with the people, you can mark that. If you want to remove a highlight from a previous quote section, you can do so. The neat thing about these notes and highlights that you do, they will stay with that verse every time you quote. So if the parent quotes the quizzer today and then the coach or somebody else quotes them tomorrow, those highlighted words and notes will travel with that verse, and the person quoting them later will be able to see what to watch for and to listen closely to those highlighted words, make sure the quizzer doesn't make any mistakes in the future. When ready to advance to the next verse, you just click next, and notice how instantaneous the system is. These different devices are not linked to each other. They're linked directly to a real-time server. So the system is very responsive. The verse when the quoter advances to the next verse, the quizzer automatically sees the next reference and so forth. I'm going to advance to the next verse just so you can once again see how responsive the system is. So when I click next, notice it's instantaneous. Both devices update at the same time. And what's really neat about this feature of the quizzer seeing just the reference and the coach seeing the full verse and the reference, you can actually do remote quoting with this system. So the person quoting the quizzer can be on the phone with the quizzer and quote them over the phone, and both the quizzer and the quoter see the same digital verse card. So remote quoting is now possible. Any of these settings, when you indicate that it's a missed verse beginning or a misquote, you have total control over marking whether a verse has been misquoted or whether a verse beginning has been missed. So if you want to override the system, say the quizzer tied with the timer on starting quoting the verse beginning, you can uncheck that they missed the verse beginning if they really got it right, and so forth. So anything that's done automatically by the system, you can override it as the person quoting the quizzer. So it's, as you can see, it's very easy to advance through and quote your quizzer. As they quote, the system is extremely responsive. Everything that happens in the quote session is maintained and recorded so that when you're done quoting, you have a very clear picture of how well that quizzer has quoted. So I'm going to exit to the main screen and show you what the results page looks like. Notice that it tells you how many verses were quoted and how long it took for the quizzer to quote those. It gives you their start time average, their end time average, how many they missed, how many they got right, how many missed verse beginnings they had, how many misquotes they had, and you can requote all missed, you can requote just the misquotes, you can drill just the missed verse beginnings. And what's really neat is all of the applications within BQSuite are integrated so that if they miss a verse beginning in a quote session, they can then go play games over those same missed verse beginnings. So they could go play the BQ match game or the BQ bubble game or do a practice drill over the verse beginnings that they just missed in their quote session. So it really adds a lot of accountability and gives the quizzer extra practice on where their weaknesses are. If you notice on the stat page down at the bottom, it shows you detailed information about every verse that was quoted in that session. If any notes or highlights were done for a particular verse, those are indicated down here. All of this information is maintained so that the next time the quizzer quotes, you can see the improvements, and the quizzer can do extra drills. So if I want to requote everything they missed, I just click that button. Notice that it created a new quote session. If I go back to the main BQ quote page, you can see that new quote session over those two verses that were missed is already in the list, and they can immediately requote what they missed so that mistakes are corrected. And you don't have to keep track of stacks and dropping cards and penciling notes on cards. Everything's maintained with the system, travels with the quizzer, and it's really a superb system for keeping track of how well a quizzer's quoting. It's very easy to set up a quote session, and when you're done quoting, you have a very clear picture of how well that quizzer knows their material, and they can even go practice on the things that they've misquoted and the missed verse beginnings. They could do do extra practice in other parts of BQSuite to correct their mistakes and learn the material better. Thank you for watching.